This is the example video for solving absolute value equations. So let me get my pen here. So remember from the notes, our goal is to get the portion in between bars by itself. So we have no numbers out in front here or behind it here. So the absolute value is already by itself. Therefore, we can break this up immediately into two separate equations and solve. Okay, so I'll rewrite -3 plus x could equal 5, and -3 plus x could also equal -5. So since my absolute value is by itself, I used +5 here because it could be 5 units away from 0 on the number line, okay, in the positive direction. And I also put -5 because it could also be 5 units away in the negative direction. So now I just solve both of these equations. So to get x by itself, I will add 3 to both sides. -3 plus 3 cancels. So I'm left with x equals 5 plus 3, which is 8. Now over here, I will add 3 to both sides. Be very thorough with your work. -3 plus 3 cancels. So we are left with x equals -5 plus 3, which is -2. So our solutions for x would be 8 and -2. Pause the video if you need more time. I'm on to number 2. Next one, the absolute value of -5v equals 20. So no numbers on either side of my absolute value portion, so I will break it up. So I have -5v equals 20. And I also have -5v equals -20. Okay? So I'm doing the positive and negative version of this number. So to get v by itself, I will divide both sides by -5 because the -5 and the v are being multiplied. Same over here. So when I do that, these -5s cancel out. So I end up getting v equals 20 divided by -5, which is just -4. And over here, for my other solution, -5s cancel. So I end up getting v equals -20 divided by -5, which is +4. So v equals -4 and 4. So when we plug in -4 and 4 in for v, for this absolute value equation, we will get 20. Okay, moving on. Okay, this one's a little different. So for this absolute value equation, the side that has the absolute value portion has this -8 attached to it. So to start off, I will add 8 to both sides in order to get the absolute value portion by itself. So when I add 8, negative 8 plus 8 cancels out. So I'm left with the absolute value of x divided by 10 equals negative 7 plus 8. Well, negative 7 plus 8 is 1. So now that I have the absolute value portion by itself, I took care of the negative 8, I can split it up. So I have x over 10 equals 1. I also have x over 10 equals negative 1. So to get the x by itself, this 10 is being divided. So I will multiply both sides by 10. So these 10s cancel. So I end up getting x equals 1 times 10, which is 10. And up here, I'll do the same thing, multiply both sides by 10. And when I do that, these 10s cancel. So I end up getting x equals negative 1 times 10, which is negative 10. So x equals 10 and negative 10. Okay, on to number 4. Okay, same thing here. So for this equation, the absolute value portion of the problem would be by itself if it weren't for this negative 7. So to take care of that negative 7, I will add 7 to both sides. Negative 7 plus 7 cancels out. So now I will have the absolute value of 1 plus r equals 10. So now that the absolute value portion is by itself, I can split it up. So I have 1 plus r equals 10. And I also have 1 plus r equals negative 10. So I'll solve both. I'll subtract 1 on this side and that side to get the r by itself. 1 minus 1 cancels. So I'm left with r equals 9. And up here, I'll subtract 1 from both sides to get r by itself. 1 minus 1 cancels. So I'm left with r equals negative 10 minus 1, which of course is negative 11. So our solutions for r are going to be negative 11 and positive 9. Pause the video if you need more time. Okay, number 5. So for number 5, we have to take care of this 4. We also have to take care of this negative 7. So what I'm going to do first, I'll take care of whatever is being added or subtracted first. Always, always. So I'll add 7 to both sides. Negative 7 plus 7 cancels. So we end up getting 4 times the absolute value of x over 10 equals negative 3 plus 7, which is positive 4. So now we have to deal with this 4. Since this 4 is being multiplied, I will divide both sides by 4. So these 4's cancel. So I end up getting the absolute value of x over 10 equals 4 divided by 4, which is 1. Now that I have the absolute value by itself, I can separate it into two other equations. So I'll do it up here. I have the absolute value of x over 10 equals 1. So to the left, I have x over 10 equals positive 1. And to the right, I have x over 10 equals negative 1. So now it's just a matter of solving this one-step equation. So the 10 is being divided on both sides. So I'll multiply both sides by 10. 10's cancel. So we are left with x equals 1 times 10, which is 10. To the right here, I will multiply by 10 on both sides. These 10's cancel, so we are left with x equals negative 1 times 10, which is negative 10. So our solutions for x are going to be 10 and negative 10. I realize I am going at a pretty good pace, so please do not be afraid to stop, write down what you need, rewind, listen to me explain something again, and then move on. Last problem. Okay, so negative 9 minus 4 times the absolute value of 7n minus 7 equals negative 37. So first, I will take care of whatever is being added or subtracted. So I will add 9 to both sides. So when I do that, negative 9 plus 9 cancels. So we are left with negative 4 times the absolute value of 7n minus 7 equals negative 37 plus 9, which is negative 28. Now I'll divide both sides by negative 4 to get the absolute value portion by itself. So when I do that, negative 4 divided by negative 4 cancels. So I'm left with the absolute value of 7n minus 7 equals negative 28 divided by negative 4, which is positive 7. So from here I can break it up. So I will say 7n minus 7 equals positive 7. And up here, I will say 7n minus 7 equals negative 7. Okay? So over here, I'll add 7 to both sides. Negative 7 plus 7 cancels. So we are left with 7n equals 7 plus 7, which is 14. So to get the n by itself, I'll divide both sides by 7. So n will equal 14 divided by 7, which we know is 2. And up top here, we will add 7 to both sides. Negative 7 plus 7 cancels, just like we wanted. So we are left with 7n equals negative 7 plus 7, which is 0. So we'll divide both sides by 7. So n ends up equaling 0 divided by 7, which is just 0. So our two values for n are going to be 2 and 0. At this time, I would recommend that you move on to the practice for solving absolute value equations.